Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this morning to talk about this very grave and serious situation that continues to unfold in Gaza. My name is Athena Solomon, State Representative from District 8, here to MC this press conference, this White Coat press conference, to bring to attention and raise awareness about how this war on Gaza is impacting hospitals, impacting medical workers, doctors, nurses, both there abroad and here at home. I want to start by reading a quote from the Director General of the World Health Organization. The world cannot stand silent while hospitals, which should be safe havens, are transformed into scenes of death, devastation, and despair. This death, devastation, and despair is funded by American taxpayer dollars. Today we are standing in front of a formerly functioning hospital that is now defunct, very much to symbolize that instead of providing with your taxpayer dollars universal health care for all, we are sending them to Gaza in the forms of military support, in the form of bombs, munitions, to target the hospitals in Gaza and kill Palestinians. It is unjust, it is wrong. We are funding war crimes, and we have a lineup of expert speakers today who are going to dive deeper into what this means. First speaker today is Fida Wisha. She is a pediatric radiologist. We're going to turn it over to her.
Hi everyone, my name is Fida Wisha, F-I-D-A-A-W-I-S-H-A-H. I'm a pediatric radiologist. I swore before my gods, my ancestors, my teachers, my fellow healers and apprentices, and by all the arts and knowledge I was privileged to learn, that I will stand by these words. I will soothe the pain of anyone who needs my art, and if I don't know how, I will seek the counsel of my teachers. I will offer those who suffer all my attention, my science, and my love. Never will I betray them or risk their well-being to satisfy my vanity. An oath we all pledged before we bore the title. Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you not only as a physician and compassionate human being, but also as a deeply affected and directly impacted Palestinian American woman with my entire family in Gaza. It is with a heavy heart that I share the devastating reality that the aggression on Gaza has killed over 13,000 people, injured more than 27,000, and displaced 1.6 million Palestinians, while thousands are still under the rubble. Of those killed, about 43% are children, 27% are women. On average, one child is killed and 2 are injured every 10 minutes, turning Gaza into a graveyard for children, according to the UN Secretary General. 85 doctors, 73 nurses, 71 paramedics, more than 100 UN staff, and 41 journalists, frontline, and human rights defenders have also been killed, with dozens of families over 5 generations have been wiped out. As a human being, I feel ashamed to reduce each and every one of them to a mere number on a statistical chart announced on a podium. As physicians, we have taken an oath to heal and do no harm. Our purpose is to alleviate suffering and preserve life. However, in Palestine, the pain and suffering are beyond comprehension. The children's agonizing screams, pleading for help from under the rubble, and their haunting, dust-covered, blood-stained faces must never be forgotten. The scarcity of basic medical supplies, such as anesthesia and antiseptic medications, places an additional burden on healthcare providers who are already stretched thin. How can we fulfill our duty to heal when we lack the necessary tools? Furthermore, the ongoing genocide has made it extremely difficult for injured patients to recover, to receive the urgent care they desperately need. We must advocate for establishment of a humanitarian corridor that allows medical supply and personnel to reach those in dire need. I urge President Biden to take swift and decisive action. As a prominent global power, the United States have a responsibility to use the influence to bring an end to this tragedy. We must all call for an immediate ceasefire. We must immediately stop the flow of aid and support to Israel. Every single dollar we give amounts to more dead children, civilians, including doctors who are there to heal, not harm. This is not a matter of a political opinion. It's a matter of upholding human rights and safeguarding innocent lives. We must demand the opening of Rafah border so we all can extend our hands to provide immediate medical assistance. The people of Palestine will require not only physical healing, but also emotional and psychological support. In light of these urgent circumstances, I am here to announce a White Coat March on Saturday, December 2nd in Tucson and Sunday, December 3rd in Phoenix, where medical professionals and concerned individuals from all over Arizona will come together to stand against the genocide in Palestine. By uniting our voices, we can make a difference and bring hope to a region torn apart by violence. Now is the time to act, for every life lost is a loss of humanity. Thank you. I wrote a short poem dedicated to Hassan, the husband of my martyr cousin Lena, who tragically lost her and three of their children, Wissam, who is also a third-year medical student, Omar, and Marwa. I have been informed that he has been facing immense difficulty in coming to terms with this heartbreaking reality. To him and to every mourning soul in Palestine, I'm so deeply sorry. He leans over a body wrapped in white sheets, stained with blood. The body is his daughter. He screams all the air out of his lungs until he has none left. No sound escapes. His eyes are dry. His body is covered in rubble dust. He looks around. He has no desire to scream anymore, no urge. They killed my daughter. They killed my other daughter. They killed my son. They took the life of my wife. They bombed my house. Is this a life I want to keep? They take the body away. Next, they announce a new body, a new father, a new muted scream. Thank you.
Thank you, Fida, for those very powerful words. Next, we are going to hear from Rowan Imran, who's a psychiatric mental health NP student.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rowan Imran, Rowan Imran. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner student. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We stand before you today as the voices of the healthcare heroes in Gaza. We stand to unite the world to end the humanitarian, medical, public, and mental health crisis in Palestine. Imagine St. Luke's Hospital here with its 219 beds, closed and silent. Now, picture Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza, which is 3 times as big, built for 700 patients, but they were treating 5,000 during this genocide. This lifeline hospital was bombed to complete ruin. The World Health Organization describes this hospital as a death zone. Imagine a hospital is called Dar Al-Shifa, which literally translates to house of healing, has become a graveyard. 13,300 have been killed. 5,500 of them are children. This is our plea as medical professionals to all of humanity. As a proud Palestinian woman training to be a mental health nurse practitioner, I cannot stand by as children are forced to mentally prepare for their own death. And what makes it worse is that they write their names on their limbs so their families can identify them in case their bodies are crushed or unrecognizable at death. I cannot stand idly by as doctors and nurses in Gaza are choosing between the patient suffering or losing their life. I cannot stand by as C-sections and amputations and burn treatments are being done without pain medication. I cannot stand by as babies are dying from slow suffocation because electricity has been cut off from their machines. Al-Shifa hospital was stormed by occupation forces and turned into a war zone. A kidney specialist, Dr. Imam in Al-Shifa hospital, was asked why did he not leave his patients and go somewhere safe. He said, and if I go, who will treat my patients? We are not animals. We have the right to receive proper health care. Do you think I went to medical school and for my postgraduate degrees for 14 years? So I think only about my life and not my patients? Dr. Hammam was killed shortly after by an Israeli airstrike. He leaves behind his wife and 2 children. Al-Mahdi Maternity Hospital was also bombed, killing 2 doctors, Dr. Basil and Dr. Yusuf Al-Mahdi. The Al-Nasr Children's Hospital was bombed, which led to the tragic death of a child because of oxygen deprivation and is now out of service. The Turkish hospital was the only hospital providing cancer treatment to patients and was also bombed and is now out of service. The Indonesian hospital, which was the last hospital for the people in the north, was bombed and is out of service. And the list goes on and on. 200 doctors, nurses, and paramedics have been killed. 55 ambulances have been targeted. 26 hospitals and 52 medical centers are out of service. An award-winning plastic surgeon in Gaza, Dr. Hassan Abu Sitta, has asked the medical community to focus on the second phase of this war. All medical storage buildings have been destroyed. There is no more medical equipment left, not even Band-Aids. The majority of injuries are children who have wounds from Hellfire missiles with serrated blades. The long-term impacts of these injuries includes drug-resistant infections and multiple reconstructive surgeries that will have lasting, immeasurable impacts. This entire generation of children has been disabled physically and mentally. It is our duty to answer their call. Once energy and the internet are returned, we must provide telehealth services to those in need. We need to plan how to treat these diseases so they aren't left to die while trying to rebuild. Our message is clear and urgent. Cease fire now. Protect the hospitals. Provide a humanitarian corridor for these injured patients. Uphold the sanctity of life. To our leaders and representatives, we stand before you with a plea that goes beyond our ethnicities and appeals to our shared humanity. Senator Mark Kelly, I speak to you directly. I ask you to embody the principles of compassion and justice we hold dear. We call on you to use your voice to end this genocide and to advocate for a future where hospitals heal, schools educate, and children grow up instead of being buried. We demand action We demand a ceasefire now. Let our united voices be the beginning of understanding and compassion. As an American, I believe in our ability to lead with empathy and wisdom. As a Palestinian, I carry the hope for a homeland where being free is the norm and not the exception. Join us in our White Coat Rally on Sunday, December 3rd, to support the humanitarian cause of the resilient children, women, and men in Gaza. I want to end with the words of Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta. He said, "Life becomes so much clearer in these moments. We are exactly where we should be and where we have been traveling to get to our whole life." Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Usma Jaffrey, family and geriatric medicine physician. My name is Usma Jaffrey, UZMA. My last name is spelled J-A, F as in Frank, R-I. I stand here today not only as a physician, mother, but also as a taxpayer, deeply concerned about the ongoing aggressions that have resulted in the illegal targeting of hospitals, physicians, and patients with guns, missiles, drones shooting bullets, and bombs. The urgency of an immediate ceasefire cannot be overstated. These heinous acts not only violate international law, but also strike at the very heart of humanity. Hospitals are sanctuaries, not battlegrounds, and no doctor or healthcare worker should ever be compelled to choose between staying to save human life at the risk of their own. The world saw all too well until recently how critical doctors are between humans and death, and we expect everyone to never forget. The deliberate targeting of hospitals and medical personnel not only undermines the fundamental principles of medical neutrality, but also deprives countless individuals of life-saving care. To do so without impunity begs the question of how are our lawmakers allowing our White Coat family and their vulnerable patients to be annihilated in this way? Beyond immediate human suffering, the destruction of healthcare infrastructure has long-term consequences that extend far beyond the duration of conflicts. It cripples communities, disrupts essential healthcare services, and impedes post-war recovery efforts. The impact reverberates for generations, leaving scars that are not just physical but deeply psychological. And someone has to pay to rebuild it. The financial burden is immense, and in this case, daunting, as much of Gaza has been razed, including its medical foundation. Moreover, as taxpayers, we bear the moral responsibility to ensure that our hard-earned resources are not funding the destruction of hospitals and the murders of healthcare professionals. Our tax dollars should be directed towards constructive initiatives that promote peace, healthcare, and the well-being of society. The almost $4 billion annual funds to arm a foreign nation would provide free or incredibly low-cost healthcare for over 1.3 million Americans. When we had nothing but fabric to cover our faces during the recent pandemic, we could have purchased 3 billion N95 masks we needed to protect our White Coat family, doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists, instead of creating makeshift internal networks amongst ourselves to source them, or being instructed by administration to reuse our masks for 2 weeks before replacing them. I am not here to appeal to those of our lawmakers on Capitol Hill who think it is appropriate to send stockpiles of weapons to a foreign nation that targets physicians and their patients, when they cannot be trusted to align with their own party and constituency that got them into office. I don't expect them to align with humanity or with morality. Ceasefire is sensible to those with integrity and foreign to those without it. I am here to appeal to those lawmakers in healthcare themselves who know better than to perpetuate lies to condone the murders of civilians and the healthcare workers who saved them. They know how to read evidence and must demonstrate that again if they plan to send their highest tax bracket, represented behind me, fundraising material next year for re-election next year. Ceasefire is evidence because it prevents further loss of life, and there can be no misinformation about that.
I am here to appeal to those lawmakers diverting funds to an aggressive foreign nation targeting healthcare facilities and workers. These funds supposedly can be used for either arms, reconstruction, or humanitarian purposes, as if choice is something the recipients of our tax dollars get to have when we don't. When we demand accountability from our lawmakers, we also demand accountability on how the funds they vote on for use are deployed. They are accountable for these funds. I appeal to those lawmakers who ally with the foreign nation targeting hospitals, physicians, and patients. They are the only voices, however, saying their support of said nation must be fiscally responsible. Ceasefire is fiscally responsible. I urge those lawmakers who deny increased funding to an entity that uses chemical weapons on civilians on previously sanctified targets, including our white coat personnel on the ground, because they say they don't want to hurt their constituents. We applaud them for thinking of us. However, with their military experience comes the knowledge that doctors and hospitals are off limits unless they themselves targeted these hallowed professionals and their grounds in their day years ago. We expect them to denounce killing experts in our field, experts in humanity, and experts in saving lives. Without these white coats, no one is safe. Not civilian residents and not civilian hostages currently held there whose state of health is as yet unknown. We caution these lawmakers, call for ceasefire, because the best way to treat patients is to prevent the creation of them in the first place. Ceasefire is the only acceptable, humane action now. I am here to ask those lawmakers who visit foreign nations currently exterminating white coats on the ground, offering legitimate condolences to one side of this crisis, while ignoring their own constituency who has suffered scores of familial losses on the other. How do you endorse arming a nation with weapons to be targeted at healthcare workers and patients when violence has so closely affected your own household? How do you look your family in the face? I appeal to their sense of urgency as every day they wait to push for ceasefire. Families on both sides of this are at risk of losing more loved ones. They too were elected because we chose to vote blue no matter who, because we funded their campaigns and canvassed for them between our own busy home and work lives. And we will not give one more dime until they have the decency to give us their time, because doctors and patients on the ground have run out of theirs. Ceasefire is for those medical experts and sick, injured civilians who are left. An immediate ceasefire is not merely a moral imperative, it is a pragmatic necessity. It allows for the unimpeded delivery of vital medical aid to those in need, facilitates the evacuation of the wounded, and provides an avenue for restoration of order, peace, and stability. And frankly, it saves more tax dollars in aids. The bill should be footed by those who created crisis, not by us. We collectively raise our voices and demand an end to the illegal targeting of hospitals and healthcare workers in conflict zones. We urge governments and international bodies to uphold and enforce international humanitarian laws that protect medical facilities and personnel during times of conflict. We expect significant justice and reparations, both financial and physical, be made immediately. In conclusion, as a physician and a taxpayer, I implore all of us to stand in solidarity for an immediate ceasefire. Let us advocate unconditionally for the protection of hospitals, physicians, and patients caught in the crossfires of conflict. The time to act is now for the preservation of human dignity, for the sanctity of healthcare, for the preservation of American funds for American messes, our collective history of no taxation without representation, and now representation with integrity with our taxation, and for a future where healing triumphs over destruction. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gottlieb. Our last speaker for the press conference is Ali Imran, internal medicine physician.
My name is Ali Imran, A-L-I, last name I-M-R-A-N, and I am an internal medicine physician. I am here on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of physicians in this country who feel they cannot speak about Palestine as they fear losing their jobs. I am their voice today. I am representing the physicians, NPs, PAs, and all the healthcare workers around our country who cannot speak up and fear speaking up on an emergent humanitarian cause due to fear of retribution from their employers. I am also the voice for the Palestinian healthcare workers whose voices have been lost amongst the cries of children taking their last breaths. I am the voice of the Palestinian physicians who refuse to leave their patients behind for safety and died next to their patients. Lastly, I am the voice of a deeply concerned physician who dedicated his life to treating those in need. I am an American, the son of immigrants from Pakistan and Afghanistan, who married the most beautiful, thoughtful, strong, and proud Palestinian woman this world has known. And I'm so honored to stand next to her here as a fellow healthcare worker to demand a permanent end to the killing and destruction of the Palestinians. In the Quran, it says, "Whosoever kills a person, it is as if they have killed all of mankind. And whosoever saves a person, it is as if they have saved all of mankind." It has been harrowing to see the indiscriminate killing of Palestinians over the last few weeks. They have been without food, water, electricity, medications such as Tylenol for pain after surgery, and even access to the internet, as it was blocked by Israel. They have lost their homes, their limbs, and their lives. Israel has dropped internationally banned white phosphorus bombs on children, leading them to have blindness and irreversible lifelong damage. As a physician, I have extensively studied that a child should not feel the fear of death. Their brain is not wired for it. It is heartbreaking to see Palestinian children facing this for over 40 days. They have faced so much, in fact, that children have started to play in graves. They have started to play in graves amongst dead bodies, singing that they also soon will be dead bodies. A child should never see that. It induces irreparable harm to them. The world should not reduce Palestinian children to being called human shields or casualties. These are children. They are not objects. It is disrespectful. It defaces them. They have names. They have dreams. And they just want to play. I urge the healthcare community, please speak up and demand a permanent stoppage to the indiscriminate bombing. I call on the American Medical Association to not employ a neutral stance on this. Do not employ a neutral stance because it is dangerous. You are not neutral regarding your statements about Ukraine. Why are you neutral about the Palestinians? Speak up. Question Israel. Why are you bombing hospitals? Why are you bombing pediatric cancer centers? Why are you bombing UN schools? Why are you bombing ambulances? Why are you bombing journalists? Why are you bombing aid workers? Why are you bombing doctors and nurses? Why are you throwing meat grinder hellfire missiles with serrated knives on children? These Palestinian men, women, and children deserve our protection. Do not disrespect them by calling them human shields. When there are school shootings here in America, we don't call the school children human shields and then bomb the entire school. We are not okay with this. Why are you okay with calling children in Palestine human shields? I call on President Joe Biden, who opposed the ceasefire multiple times, to join us in calling for a permanent stoppage of the bombings. I call on Senator Mark Kelly, put out a statement and mention the term Palestinian. Say the word Palestinian. I call on Senator Mark Kelly, put out a statement regarding the indiscriminate killings of the Palestinians. Know that Palestine is a land of a Semitic people called the Palestinians. Palestinians are a beautiful people with a vibrant culture. As a physician, I have never been so ashamed of the medical community going through mental gymnastics to justify this genocide, to justify the killing of children. Just like Dr. Darren Clarkman of Johns Hopkins did, a physician who treats the hearts of children, to call for a genocide on the Palestinian children. I feel ashamed to wear this white coat that should be a beacon of hope when my fellow physicians in Palestine use it as a shroud for their graves. I shouldn't have to beg for people to understand that the killing of innocent Palestinian men, women, and children is wrong. It is not okay to kill Palestinian doctors and nurses. It is not okay to kill Palestinian children under any circumstance. Never normalize this. Don't normalize this. Nelson Mandela did it.
Thank you, Dr. Iman, for the powerful words. It's all been said. We just had a moment of silence for the 58 doctors and dentists and healthcare workers that have died in Gaza. And again, anyone and everyone, from our president to our congressional leaders, to our associations and civil society in this country, join us in calling for a ceasefire and saving lives. That concludes this press conference. Thank you.